Please.
Any white person who was born, raised, and schooled in the United States of America, if you aren't a racist, you're a miracle. Either that or you decided to educate yourself. Because education in this country is about white is right, brown's all right, black's got to stand back. Yellow's mellow, but whites, we educate in a way that says that white males have done all the adventures, have made all the adventures, have done all the discovering, have made all, everything that is good and has been accomplished according to social studies, which is actually anti-social studies, by white males. It's a lie. But we do that in order to maintain the myth of white superiority.
So the myth of white superiority benefits a few people, and who will do anything it takes to maintain the status quo or to keep that going. White superiority is just a synonym, another term for racism. Well, hello, my beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to those that are coming across this channel for the first time. I love you all and thank you for your time. So without wasting so much of your time, I am going to share a short video here by Jane Elliott. Jane Elliott is an white American scholar or academician. Let's watch this video together about racism and white superiority. And at the end of this video, let's add our opinions to the video. So let's just jump right into the video.
Because I found out that day that they could kill me, but they couldn't kill the idea. Victor Hugo said, "No force on earth can stop an idea whose time has come." The idea of one race, the human race, is an idea whose time has come. We are not going to be able to stop it no matter what they do. They can elect Trump after Trump after Trump, and that will not stop the idea that there's only one race on the face of the earth. It's the human race, and we are all members of it. You and I are cousins. Now, if you don't like being my cousin, that's too bad for you. But we are all in the same family. We are members of the family of man.
You say that all whites are racist. Can you expound on that, please?
Any white person who was born, raised, and schooled in the United States of America, if you aren't a racist, you're a miracle. Either that or you decided to educate yourself. Because education in this country is about white is right, brown's all right, black's got to stand back. Yellow's mellow, but whites, we educate in a way that says that white males have done all the adventures, have made all the adventures, have done all the discovering, have made all, everything that is good and has been accomplished according to social studies, which is actually anti-social studies, by white males. It's a lie. But we do that in order to maintain the myth of white superiority. The myth of race has to be maintained at all costs in this country. Because if white people have to give up the color of their skin as being something that makes them perfect, what do they have left? If we start teaching the truth about history, if we start teaching about Nile Valley contributions to civilization, it will totally change the way we conduct ourselves in the classroom. It will have to. Columbus didn't discover America. You can't discover a place where people are already living. But we celebrate that every October. It's a lie. We need to get over, we need to stop telling the myths and start telling the truth.
So when you tell people that they're racist, and it must have some kind of effect, because most people will say, I'm not racist.
I'm not a racist. Why, some of my best friends are black.
Right.
Yeah, and then you say, name one. Or this one, I don't see color. And when some woman says to me, I don't see color, I say, I knew that. If you saw color, you wouldn't dye your hair that way. Or I say, if you saw color, you wouldn't wear that shirt with those pants. I believe that you don't see color. It's an attempt to deny skin color. And it's an attempt to deny what's wrong with seeing the color of my skin. Is it all right for you to see me kind of pink? That's okay for me. I don't mind. And I suspect that you don't mind being seen the color you are. You have a right to be what you are. And until people in this country and people in this world get it into their heads that the first modern human beings that evolved on this earth were black women. They evolved in sub-Saharan Africa about 280,000 years ago, and every human being on the face of the earth today has the memory of those black women's genetic structure in their genes. Now, we don't want to admit that, but that's the way it is. And as people moved farther and farther from the equator, their bodies produced less and less melanin, so their hair, their skin, and their eyes got lighter. As they moved into the east, they ate a lot of fish and a lot of vegetables, so their skin took on a different tone. I found that out when I was raising little kids. My husband worked in a supermarket. He was the head of the produce department. And they had lots of oranges that they couldn't sell, so he'd bring them home. And I was feeding my kids orange juice like you never saw in your life. They began to have an orange cast to their skin. I thought they had a liver problem. So I took him to the doctor, and she said, "What are you feeding these kids?" I said, "Well, lots of orange juice." She said, "Stop it if you want them to stop being orange." Now, if you think that skin color isn't anything other than the body's natural reaction to the natural environment, get over it.
So if all white people are racist, according to you, can they be reprogrammed?
Well, of course they can. Of course they can. Of
How?
course they can be. It's called education. I'm an educator. The word educator comes from the root duc dus, which means lead, the prefix e, which means out, the suffix ate, which means the act of, and the suffix or, which means one who does. An educator is one who is engaged in the act of leading people out of ignorance. Now, I know you can change them. The second year I did the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise in my classroom, it was filmed by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. They gave me a copy of that film. I showed it to my father. My father was about 59 years old at the time. He's been a farmer all his life. He raised six kids, lost one, raised six. Watch that film as a 59-year-old man. When it was over, he stood up, and with tears in his eyes, he took his red handkerchief out of the back pocket of his overalls, his bib overalls, and said, "I wish somebody had taught me that when I was 9 years old." Nobody had dare say to me, "This doesn't work. This is too harsh. This isn't necessary. You can't teach an old dog new tricks because they're wrong." You can teach an old dog new tricks. You can teach people to give up the myth of racism. Somebody taught the Greeks to give up the myth that the sun was a god in a golden chariot that went across the sky every morning. They believed that for hundreds of years. We have believed the myth of 3 or 4 races, different races in this country, for long enough. 572 years or something like that is enough of that. It was a lie to begin with, and it's a lie.
Okay, welcome back. So, first of all, it's good to note that racism is a construct of white people. White people gave birth to racism. White people manufactured racism. And while it's not true to say that every white person on the surface of the earth is racist against black people, but it's true that many systems and structures that exist are racist. And what I wanted to bring to your attention in this video is that the fact that racism, being a construct of white supremacists, if that makes it much more clearer, does affect, of course, the obvious victim of racism in this case is black people. And I do not believe in exactly as other people might term it, racism from black people to white people per se. And why I say this is because the counter narrative, the counter racism narrative is usually just but an instinctive reaction to oppression, to racism itself. And sometimes when black people act mean towards white people, it is a natural reaction towards the oppression that black people already go through. Now, what I was saying is, in as much as these racism does affect black people, it also affects white people. And I want us to talk a little bit more about this. So there are obvious the obvious negative effects of racism on black people are like systemic disenfranchisement, where white supremacists come up with systems that are unfair, that deny black people opportunities in education, in business, in health, and in many other fronts. Another one is psychological trauma. When someone is exposed so much to racism, they develop mental issues like anxiety, depression, and PTSD, and that affect their general well-being, their self-perception and self-esteem. Something else is violence and oppression, and this results to racism actually results to hate crimes and police brutality against black people. Another one is another obvious one is cultural erasure, where when now we have black people who do not really value themselves, a system that do not value black people, white people, sorry, a system that does not place value on black people, white people that do not place value on black people, and their history is demeaned. This is demeaning, and this leads to the erasure of our history, our black history. We lose because people tend to naturally lose things of low value. So when the system teaches you that your culture, your history is of low value, then there are high chances of the system entirely, including the people in it, be it black and be it white, discarding that history. But then the truth is, there is also a negative side of this racism to black people, to white people that perpetrate it. So a few points that I want us to talk about now. So there is a moral and ethical corrosion. So white supremacy distorts moral values, fostering things like hatred and ignorance, fueling crime, because we have seen such happen. Another thing, an obvious one, is social division. And when people are divided, white supremacy, I mean, it creates a divided society where there's no trust, there's no cooperation, there's no mutual understanding. And white individuals may miss out on the diverse perspectives that other people, maybe black people, bring to the table. Now, there's a false sense of superiority. So this false sense of superiority, I call it false because scientifically there is no proof that the skin color of someone can determine on their intellect or intellectual capability. So a false sense of superiority, this traps white people in believing that they are better just by the appearance of their skin color. And this might lead to people not even trying to become better people. because they already think they are better. So white supremacy traps white people in a worldview where they are expected to maintain a certain sort of dominance, often leading to a lack of self-awareness about the privilege, the guilt, and the fear of losing status. Another one is an economic and social cost. So, because what racism does is it weakens social cohesion, social understanding, and economic unity, and then economic productivity. By stifling the talents and potentials of, say, marginalized community, black community for this matter, is limited in overall societal progress, affecting everyone, of course, including white people, because everybody can benefit from a talent, uh, be it, from white or a black community. So, in essence, white racism oppresses black people through violence and marginalization. It also damages white people by fostering ignorance, fear, moral decay, undermining the values of equity and shared humanity. Basically, it's good to call out bad a vice like racism, and it should be a shared responsibility where white people like Jane Elliott come out to also call out on fellow white people, to fight ignorance, because now there is a fight, against ignorance. And we black people also come out to call out on white supremacists, and to educate our own people on this, and to be careful, to be watchful, to know where racism begins and where it ends. Yeah, so I want to close this video at that point. Please share your thoughts on the same in the comments, like and share this video. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, see you in the next video. Peace.